Now, with star guests and a wry look at the week's news, it's the Clive James Show.
Welcome, and in a packed show tonight, the irrepressible Joe Brand, the unforgettable Donny Osmond, the unputdownable Jackie Collins, and the infinitely charming Jeremy Irons. But first, the news headlines. Clinton keeps image problem under his hat. Stripper arrives for Robin Cook's stag night. German Chancellor asks assistant, "Did I remember to put my shoes on?" And later in tonight's show, in a week when President Clinton is forced to sit through a 2-hour sermon on the evils of adultery, the preacher tells us, "I gave him the short version." In a week when Macaulay Culkin announces his intention to marry his 17-year-old girlfriend, Bill Wyman asks us, what does he see in these older women? In London this week, amid rumours that he had helped out Rupert Murdoch in an under-the-counter Italian television deal, feared British mafia boss Tony the Teeth Blair called in Italian Prime Minister Romano Prodi to give him a message of brotherly concern. Be nice to Rupert or you'll get the rest of the horse in your bed. In Britain for talks this week, the Chinese Prime Minister, Mr. Zhu Rongji, visited Windsor Castle, where he received a typically courteous reception from the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. "Welcome to Great Britain, Mr. Prime Minister," said the Queen. "Sweet and sour prawn balls with fried rice, please," said the Duke. In South Africa, President Clinton met President Mandela and assured him of continuing support. Mr. Mandela said, "You never know, one day you might need my support." Our news analyst tonight is a female comedian for whom male comedians feel that delicious cocktail of respect for her craft and fear that she may be funnier than they are. She started out as a psychiatric nurse, and she recently appeared on Question Time. Was there a difference? Let's not ask her that. Let's ask her about the news as we welcome Joe Brand. So, Joe, what stories have caught your eye this week?
Well, I saw one very odd headline that said labour-saving devices are killing us. And I thought, does that mean there's like rogue hoovers kind of jumping up at housewives? But no. What it's actually about is the fact that we use so many labour-saving devices, we're very unfit, and because we're unfit, we die early. And these labour-saving devices do actually work, as opposed to new labour-saving devices, which look good but do nothing. I have to say, I am one of those people that's going to die early because I love labour-saving devices. In fact, I bought one of those stair lifts the other week. And I live in a flat. I don't know why I did it, but they are a bit slow, and it did take me 3 years to get from the bed to the fridge, but I got there in the end, so...
I think it's an unstoppable tendency, isn't it? They've got oranges now that you...
They have. You can get oranges from Sainsbury's that are ready peeled. Yum. And apparently, they're selling like there's no tomorrow, which, of course, there isn't for these lazy people because they're going to die.
OK, let's move on to the international scene. Any international news?
Well, it's not exactly important news, but it is for women in New York, because apparently women in New York are having trouble finding boyfriends. And the reason is, A, there's a huge gay population in New York, and B, there are many more women than men. Now, I have a very easy solution for them, move. But they're actually not going to do that. They're actually going to dating classes to learn how to be good at dating blokes.
How to pull.
How to pull, yeah. And, well, hey, Clive.
See, I know the lingo.
You do, I'm all yours.
Yeah, I really...
No, but I can't believe it, because they're actually going to these classes called things like Meet, Date and Be Happy with a Stable, Reliable Person. And I think they're being a bit over-optimistic there. I mean, I do. I mean, I think if they had classes called something like Meet, Be Shouted Down All Night, Sit on Your Own waiting for the phone to ring, Lose Your Self-Confidence, Marry one because he's all there is, and then get left when you're pregnant.
That great role model Barbie is back in the news, I see.
Not my role model, Clive. Not mine, and not yours, I would imagine.
No.
But a role model for many thin blonde ladies, yes. Well, they're constantly giving Barbie new accoutrements, and the latest one is a credit card, would you believe? Why can't they give her something useful like an O-level? That's what I say. But I've always shied away from Barbie because I think of Barbie as like supermodels, except with the benefit of a bit more personality.
Naomi won't mind that.
Naomi won't understand it. I'm sorry. She's not coming on, is she?
Not now, no.
Oh, she isn't.
Well, there was a big sports story this week about women's boxing. You catch that one?
I did, yes. This woman, Jane Crouch, or Couch, or whatever her name is, she's been fighting a sex discrimination case against the BBBC, which is the Boxing Board of Control. And I don't know how she did win it. I don't know if she just went in and punched them. That's what I did. But, it's quite interesting because people are anti-women's boxing for a number of reasons, and the first reason is that apparently for a few days out of every month we women are unstable and aggressive. Unlike male boxers who are like that every day of the month, obviously. Of course, it's a PMT problem, but I actually think it's quite a good idea to encourage women to box, because if you've got PMT and you've got boxing gloves on, you can't go shoplifting, can you?
There's a lot in the papers about women this week. Do men get a look in?
There's some worry about young lads at the moment, because this whole new lad image has resulted in young men drinking a lot more. I mean, it's any old excuse, isn't it? I mean, you could just say an ant sneezed on the Isle of Wight last year. Oh, young men are drinking more. Do you know what I mean? Young women are also drinking more, but that's easily understandable, because the more pints you have, the more attractive these appalling new lads look. But, you know, I think what people worry about is that young people are getting drunk and taking drugs and they're living for the moment. And in a way, you can't blame them, because people don't want to get old, because we treat old people so appallingly. I mean, who wants to end up in an old people's home, stuck in front of the telly, with a nurse coming past 3 times a day shoving food in your mouth? I do. I'd like to go today.
I knew a lot less before, and now I know a lot more. Thank you very much, Joe Brand. Over here for the Andrew Lloyd Webber 50th birthday celebration concert is an American idol whose mere smile in his formative years did something to young British females that Leonardo DiCaprio couldn't do now with a full Monty from his hotel window. When the Osmond family was the biggest thing in pop, he was the biggest thing in the Osmonds.
What is your name?
Donny.
Donny?
Yes, sir.
Well, how old are you?
5. Yes, sir. She's the neatest and also the sweetest. Yes, sir. That's my baby now. I don't mean maybe. Yes, sir. That's my baby now. Rodeo, yes, sir. That's my baby now.
Hang on, Super, hang on, hang on, hang on. Hang on, Super, hang on, hang on, hang on. Someone help me, help me, please. Oh, is the answer up above? How can how can I tell them this is not a puppy love?
It's Donny Osmond.
Where did you find that footage?
Oh, it's not the collector's items. People have
Man.
copies of it all over the world. But, yeah.
I remember those shows. I did that last clip that you played.
Yeah.
Was from the BBC. I can't remember the name of the shows now, but we did like a week's long.
It was called The Osmond Show, Donny.
The Osmond Show. That's it. Right. Thank you.
Well, it was kind of difficult to be a pop star in the 70s, wasn't it? Because you had to wear a lot of clothes which look kind of funny today.
You know what's strange about that is they're coming back.
Yeah.
I saw the Spice Girls on Oprah the other day, and I don't know all their individual names, but one of the girls was wearing platforms this big. I used to wear those things.
She's probably wearing yours, actually.
Yeah, that's probably true. Probably true.
Yeah. What's the connection between you and Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Sir Andrew, as we call him now.
Sir Andrew, yeah.
Sir Andrew.
Lord Webber, I think we call him.
Is it Lord Webber?
Yeah, or King Webber or something like that. I'll take you right
Emperor
over.
Webber. Well, I came here over to England to participate in his birthday show.
Yeah.
I've been doing Joseph for the last 6 years.
In the States?
In the States.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks ago, I took the coat off for the last time.
So what are you going to be doing on the big night of the birthday celebration?
Andrew's asked me, or Emperor Andrew, he's asked me to sing 2 songs from Joseph. Any Dream Will Do and Close Every Door.
Will you be wearing the loincloth?
No. I gotta tell you something. Oh, yeah. I gotta tell you something. My worst nightmare came true. There's this one scene where Mrs. Potiphar grabs my loincloth, right? And then I pull it out of her hands. This one particular night, it stayed in her hands. It ripped off.
And what were you wearing? I presume
That's none of your business, baby. No, I wore some very tiny briefs underneath, but my loincloth ripped off.
Let's go back to this time when they were tearing everything off you, not just the loincloth. Let me rephrase that. Let's go back to the beginning. When you came over, when you came over here in the 70s, there were actual riots. How did you cope with all that?
Man, you know, they called it Osmond Mania back then. But I remember watching a show. I was in my hotel room, couldn't go out of the hotel room. It was the Churchill Hotel. And I was watching this one program, and they had a couple people from Scotland Yard and a child psychiatrist, and they were analyzing whether Donny Osmond should remain in the country, or should he be deported because he's not healthy for our young children. And I thought, whoa, this is cool. This is really cool. They're talking about me, you know?
Did you like all that attention?
I did. I loved it. I loved it. I don't know if I'd want to go through it again. I'm kind of glad everything has changed now.
You had such a...
I walked out of the hotel today,
Yeah.
right? And I put my sunglasses on, and I was walking down Piccadilly Street. Nothing. Took my sunglasses off. Nothing. I was walking down. I finally walked into the... I had a sandwich with me, and I walked into the Virgin Megastore. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, nobody is recognizing me. And this guy said, "Hey, you! And I turn around and smile at him. Finally, somebody recognizes, "You can't go in there with that food. Get out of there." So, you know, I'm loving life now because I'm a normal person. Normal person. But I can walk up and down the streets of London now and enjoy it, you know.
Well, you had such a squeaky clean image at that time. Were you really that goody-goody when they were surrounded by these?
Well, you got to define goody-goody.
Well, let me put it this way. Do you ever take down a phone number?
Oh, many. Couldn't do anything with it, but I took down the number. No, I never swayed from my principles. I had my parents were very, very strong Mormons, and I still am. I really believe in the faith, and I never varied from it. And I'm glad I didn't, because I'm married to the same woman. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary in May, and we just had our 5th son 7 weeks ago. And yeah. So I'm glad that I stuck to my principles back in those days. I mean, it would have been so easy, Clive. Yeah. Very, very easy.
No wonder the girls went crazy. There you were, sticking to your principles, and they were trying to stick to you.
Yeah.
How do your original British fans react to you now?
I don't know.
Some of them are here.
No, it is different. You know, they're still there. I am so fortunate to be able to still be in this business after 35 years.
What about America? What about the American fans, the original?
It was a long process. It was a long, and you know what? They'll still refer to me as the guy who sang Puppy Love. And that's fine. It's cool with me now. It was difficult for a time, but during that rebuilding process, but now it's cool. As a matter of fact, I did a show in Portland, Oregon, and these 3 bikers came, drunk as a skunk. You know, they just had their beer bottles, and they were sitting in the front row, and everybody could see them, and they were making idiots out of themselves. They're saying, "Sing Puppy Love! Sing I love you, Donny! Sing Puppy Love!" And throughout the whole show, finally, I had it. I walked to the front of the stage, and I looked down at them and say, "You want puppy love? You got puppy love." And the place was silent. You know, you could hear a pin drop. And I turned around to my band. I mean, they're all like this. What is he doing? I said, "Guys, give me a heavy metal version of Puppy Love." So they said, "Yeah." And I hit the floor. And they called it Puppy Love. And I did the whole number like that, right? The place went crazy. These guys said, "That guy's cool, man." And they were with me the rest of the show. My point is, you don't fight it anymore, you embrace it. And when you embrace it, everybody's happy with it, and they're easy with it.
Would you embrace it if I said, "Could you give us a few bars of the non-rock and roll version of Puppy Love"? Harry, you haven't
Give me a bouncy seat. I didn't warm up for this, you know. And they called it Puppy Love. More? Oh, I guess they'll never know how a young heart really feels. Boy, this will make the news. Why I love him so. No.
Thank you very much, Donny Osmond. We've got a break coming up, but we'll be back with loads more stuff, including the phosphorescent fiction of Jackie Collins and the transcendental talent of Jeremy Irons. Stay tuned.
What do the really, really beautiful people drink when they get thirsty? The same thing as the rest of us. Image is nothing. Thirst is everything. Obey your thirst. Sprite.
Let's all gather round as we welcome Lucy J.
Want to take Lucy inside?
No, no.
She was amazing. I did wonder how she's old, but she's Isn't your sister gorgeous? Who's Grandma's little darling then? Oh, dear.
Wanna be americano, americano. You were born in Italy. Try living alla moda, whiskey soda. All you do is sing off key.
Tua fare americana. Siete menu just niente fa ok la pulita. Whiskey soda rock and roll, whiskey soda rock and roll, whiskey soda rock and roll.
The Scottish Mirror is now 10p every day. And these days you don't get much entertainment for that. If you want real entertainment for just 10p, buy the Scottish Mirror.
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. I'll take you to burn. Fire. I'll take you to learn. I'll see you burn. Fire. You're gonna burn.
Welcome back. In the world of paranormal television, the French Canadians are making a special contribution. In Montreal, there's a woman who combines the awesome insight of Nostradamus with the shy, retiring personality of Margarita Pracatin. Stand by for the psychic phone line of Jojo Savard.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is show number 3 of JoJo's Psychic Alliance.
Let's welcome the Queen of the Stars and the Goddess of the Moon, JoJo Savard.
The Queen of the Stars and the Goddess of the Moon may make the kind of entrance that has you looking for the exit, but she's been around a lot longer than her hair, and she's developed a deep insight into human destiny.
Thank you, Bob. You look so good.
Thank you.
I love you. And I love you too, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. You want to know why? Why? Because I have a beautiful story to tell you about a caller who developed a wonderful relationship with her psychic. It's such a beautiful story. You want to hear it?
I'd love to. Let's watch.
Pierrette had been married for quite some time, but she had not been able to have any children. She tried to find understanding with her husband, but it was useless. Their relationship had gone sour. That's when she decided to call JoJo's Psychic Alliance. Her psychic, Gina, gave her a different outlook. Gina told her she saw her present husband leaving her life. Gina explained that she should let him go, that as soon as he left, a new man would enter her life, a man that would love her and care for her. A few days later, her husband left, and just as her psychic predicted, a handsome and caring young man came into her life in the most unusual way. So they decided to get married. Pierrette got pregnant immediately, and just like her psychic Gina predicted, she had a beautiful baby girl.
The evidence suggests that they had a beautiful baby rabbit. But apparently a baby human arrived too, because it now shows up to meet Jojo, the woman who wrecked its mother's first marriage.
Thank you so much for coming to visit us and share your little treasure. This is your little treasure. She's the most beautiful doll I've ever saw in my life. She has a lavender aura, which means that her purpose in life will be to bring beauty and a lot of difference to this world. So I think you're a very, very lucky couple. Thank you very, very much, and thank you for coming and sharing your beautiful energy with us. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Call us right now. And remember, I love you and I kiss you.
My next guest has sold 200 million books. So has W.H. Smith, but they're all by different people. Hers are all by her, and they tear the lid off Hollywood to reveal what we always hoped was in there. Sex, corruption, corrupt sex, and stuff like that. How did a nice British girl discover so much about the least nice city since Sodom and Gomorrah? Let's find out as we welcome Tinseltown's writer-in-residence, Jackie Collins. So, Jackie, the new book is called Thrill. Dare I ask
Thrill.
Thrill. What is it about
Well,
exactly?
it's a little bit about lust and sex and obsession and secrets and stalking.
Stalking.
A nice, you know, family story.
If I wanted to write a bestseller, and I do, believe me,
Yes.
could you give me a good first line? How should I start?
Would you be talking about a woman or a man?
Well, I don't know. What should I talk about? It's going to be a bestseller.
Talk about a woman.
Yeah,
Okay, you're a man writing about a woman.
Yeah.
She strode into the room and looked at me with her penetrating eyes. I felt a certain stirring within me. And then, now you give me the next line.
And then... and then I made my excuses and left.
Very good. I like that. I like that.
It's a short book, you know. Nowadays, you're playing a big part in bringing your books to the screen. Do you audition the actors yourself?
Of course I do. Wouldn't you if you were in my position?
Yeah, you
All
bet.
these great-looking actors come in. They've got to have two things. They've got to have, how can I put this politely? Likability and bedability. Is that right, ladies? Am I right? Yeah.
So these guys come walking in with their two things, and you...
With their two things? No, wait a minute. I'm not going to touch that.
Let's leave that. You started off as an actress yourself. Were you any good?
I was dreadful. I was an actress for about 5 minutes, and I always considered myself an out-of-work writer.
I think you're doing yourself down a bit. I actually got evidence that you
Oh,
weren't such a bad actress.
God.
Here, take a look
Oh,
at this.
my
Here, have a look at here. You are an actress.
Can't you come in for one drink?
Byron wants me.
So do I.
Well, it may be important. Can I have a rain check?
For how long?
I'll be back in an hour.
I'll wait.
Could you dig that up?
Well, it's kind of famous, actually, and it's quite a kiss. Was that take one?
Well, you know, it's funny because we were in a car and the car was propped up on blocks. And I knew Roger very well. That was Roger Moore, of course, because my father was his agent. And along comes his new wife, who did not speak any English, and she was standing watching, and she's going, Roger, who is this woman? Who is this woman? Why are you to kiss her? What are you doing? And it was so funny. Louisa and I became best friends after that. So, but that's funny. I haven't seen that in many years.
I think you're very convincing. The kiss looked like a bit of an out-of-body experience. Because, that's because of Roger Moore.
What about the hairstyle?
You left the acting to Joan and you became a hugely successful author. And how did you feel when Joan started to write?
She did?
You haven't heard them?
Gee, I'm so glad I'm here because I find out all sorts of things on this show.
She did, Jackie, and it's been quite successful. Quite successful. Not on your scale, of course.
Well,
but,
that's great. Anybody who can write, I give them a lot of credit because writing is not easy. And I'll tell you something, the easier you make it look, the more people think they can do it.
Were you a public school girl?
Well, actually, I was thrown out of school. At 15, they requested that I leave because I was not a good influence on the other girls. I would be writing these little sexy stories and I would sell them. So I was making money. You know, most people sell cigarettes. I was selling stories. Hey, you want to read a really great scene? It was like, here. And I was doing that, and I was waving to the resident flasher who would be in Regent's Park. We'd all trot past in our school uniforms. He'd be there and I'd go, cold day today, isn't it? They hated that. So they said, you know, you've got to go. But it was fun, and it was really fun because writing the books that I write, I really know what I'm writing about, and I think that before one gets married, one should experience everything one ever wants to experience, and then you can have a great marriage because you're sitting there and you're not looking out and saying, what have I missed? Because you haven't missed anything.
And you get married when you're 84 years old. Why are you freezing to death beside a swimming pool in California when you could be basking in the tropical side of Britain?
Well, you know, that's what I miss in America, the sense of irony.
Yeah, they don't get it.
No, they don't quite get it. That's why the Full Monty, I think, was such a surprise that it was so successful there. And I saw Mark Addy at one of the Oscar parties, and we were laughing because we were talking about the success of the Full Monty, and then I was saying, you should have been here when Free Willy came out.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you
And
very
you
much.
too. Thank
Jackie
you, Clive.
Cullen.
You're a pleasure.
We've got a break coming up, then we'll return with Jeremy Irons. But first, let's go back to the early 80s when a man with a white suit and a straw hat, 3 gorgeous girls and a band going bonkers made even Top of the Pops look like fun. Later we'll see what they're doing now, but here's what they were doing then. Kid Creole and the Coconuts.
With just roll frozen pastry sheets, you can bin that pin.
Every day, we put our faith in something or someone to safeguard our future. Every day, millions of people put their faith in AXA. AXA. 35 million believe in us worldwide.
Things could be marvelous soon. Oh, well, these are the days, and this is the life. There'll always be something on your mind you'll never quite find. These are the days, so wake up, 'cause this is the time. And you know I'm right.
It's no good. I can't do this.
You've got to. We're running the Flora London Marathon soon. You can't back out now.
I'm not talking about backing out at marathon. I'm talking about this suit. At least you can see where you're going. All I can see
Just keep running.
The Flora London Marathon, 26th of April. It's not long now.
In the Easter Home Show magazine, close encounters in a tenement flat, self-built Hebridean style paints and effects, plus win a weekend to Milan. The Home Show magazine.
He's discriminated against because he's a victim of crime. He's discriminated against because he drives a powerful car. For an open-minded view of car insurance, call Swinton on 0800 600 700.
Welcome back. While we're on the air, big stories continue to break. These just in. Free Deirdre March reaches Hyde Park Corner. Clinton celebrates winning Botswana National Musical Chairs Contest. Yeltsin mistakes tree for German Chancellor. Our next guest has built himself the kind of international screen career that most British actors can only dream of as they hold the third fire extinguisher from the left in a National Theatre modern dress production of Julius Caesar. His great talent has earned him one Best Actor Oscar already, and his reputation keeps on growing as a star actor more interested in the acting than the stardom. It's Jeremy Irons. It's great to see you, Jeremy, or as Jojo would say, thank you for coming to share your beautiful energy with us.
Oh, please, please, what a lady. I can't wait to go on her show.
Does it appeal, all that American obsession with psychics and therapists?
It doesn't really. It doesn't. I can't really get into that at all. I did try once. I went to New York to do a play, a Tom Stoppard play, and people said to me, when you go to New York, you know, it'll take about a year and you'll start going to the gym. And then very shortly after that, you'll go into analysis. I said, no, not me, I'm English. 6 months. I was in the gym. And that went well, and then about 8 months, I went to an analyst. I can't even say the word, an analyst. And we had 2 sessions. And the middle of the second session, she said, you know, I don't think you're ready for this. And I just didn't want to... I didn't want to tell her all this stuff. I thought it was none of her business, quite honestly, the stuff she was asking me. I thought she was being very nosy, and it wasn't my... So I stopped. And it was quite nice, because it was very expensive, too, so it was nice to save that, and I could spend it on cigarettes instead.
Stuff like that stop you moving to Hollywood?
Well, no, because you can avoid that stuff. I mean, you know, there are some great Americans. No, I didn't move to Hollywood because I'm a gardener, you know. If I upped and left and went over there, I know what it does to shrubs. It's not good for them.
So, but do you go for the glitz of the premieres and the parties and all that?
I don't much enjoy it, I have to say. Now I was at the Oscars last week and they were very disappointing. Too many people.
You were in this big winners photograph, weren't you? There was a photograph of all past winners there.
Yes.
That looked a bit more fun than the ceremony.
Well, it was military precision, you know, backstage. They got us all round the back there, and you can imagine, I mean, you know, there's 70 of us, most of us very old, and some of us very deaf, and it was great to see people. I mean, I saw Jack Lemmon with his facelift, and Walter Matthau without his. And suddenly there was absolute panic, because the lines were beginning to move, you know, and I wasn't there, and they said, where's Jeremy House, where's Jeremy? I said, I'm sorry, I'm here. And I stood there in line, and I thought, not since school. You know, and people like, I mean, real killers like Joe Pesci, who put a knife in you as soon as smile at you know, and Bob De Niro, and they were all standing there good as gold, you know, lying
You've been working with Leonardo DiCaprio in Man of the Iron Mask. Had the hysteria begun at that stage?
No, we had a few stalwart girls sort of who'd discover us, I don't know how they would discover us at various locations or the studio entrances, and they were shooed away. But in the main, I mean, Leo's a very busy boy. He'd come to work in the morning and go to bed. And we'd then, you know, spend a long time trying to prise him out of his caravan. Because he would enjoy the models in Paris. I mean, Paris is a nice place for a 23-year-old guy like Leo. I sadly was never in Paris at 23. Were you? Was Sydney like that?
I was there at 23, but I wasn't in quite the same circumstances as Leonardo DiCaprio. Well, Helena Bonham Carter came on the show last year, and she told me that she used to, when she was a kid, starting off, she used to hang around your house hoping to speak to you. She used to practice her French lieutenant's woman's look, hoping you'd come out and say, "Who are you?" But you never did.
You know, I heard this. Strange enough, I heard it from my wife, who got to know Helena because she kept finding her outside our door. and some years after, she told me, when Helena began to get famous, she said, "You know, Helena used to..." And I said, "Why didn't you tell me at the time?" But I'm very flattered by that. I think Helena's wonderful.
Well, I imagine you always have been a bit of a heartthrob. At school, for example?
No, I was hopeless. I never learned how to pick up girls. I mean, I went to a single-sex school.
Right.
So I learned to recognize girls, but not what to do with them. We used to meet, the place we used to meet, I went to Sherborne in Dorset, a little sleepy town, and in the middle of the high street of Sherborne was, a dry cleaners called Speedwell's. And in Speedwell's, there was a massive dry cleaning machine behind the counter. And behind the dry cleaning machine was a gap before you got to the racks. And round in that gap, I suppose I started my first fragile steps towards naughtiness. And even now, the smell of dry cleaning fluids.
Where did you get that glorious English accent? Was that a product of school? They teach you to speak like
I
that?
don't know, it's the Isle of Wight, that's where I was born.
Can you do a Yob accent?
What, like Bob Hoskins?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can, really. It might be a bit laughable.
Sounds about right.
All right, you reckon? I'd give it some welly if I had to. I mean, I do knock it off if I'm in a situation which I would call dangerous, you know. I knock off the old posh one a little bit. Calm down, you know.
You've obviously got a very good ear. Do you find yourself picking up other people's accents, like Gerard Depardieu? You work with him.
Oh, Gerard. Well, Sinead says that when I'm in Ireland, I spend a lot of time in Ireland, and Sinead, my wife, is Irish. And I tend to talk a bit like that in there, and she says, "Stop doing that, don't do that. It's patronizing." I said, "What?" She's talking with that stupid accent. And whenever I get a script and I'm reading it, you know, and I said, "And I think it might have to have an accent," she said, "Oh, God." She gives me no confidence at all.
How did you meet her?
Well, I used to follow her. We were working in theatres that went back to back, and some nights we'd get into work about the same time, and I would follow her down the alley, and she'd go in one door, I'd go in the other. She never knew I saw her. Remember, she had a pair of suede hot pants. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking...
maybe she needs some dry cleaning done, huh?
An actress, a lovely actress called Elizabeth Spriggs, and I share a birthday. And we threw a birthday party together in a restaurant called Luigi's in Tavistock Street. And my girlfriend of the time was sitting opposite, and Sinead was sitting on my right. And for some reason, I offered to take them both home. But I dropped my girlfriend off first, which I'm told was not a mannerly thing to do. And then I came to drop Sinead off, and bless her, this was the 70s. She said, "Would you come in for a cup of coffee?" And she tells me that I said, "If I come in, I'll stay for the rest of my life."
Wow.
So she said, "Well, don't come in, go home."
You ever work together on stage, same theatre?
We did a play called Wild Oats together at the Piccadilly Theatre with the Royal Shakespeare Company. And in fact, that was about the time that she became pregnant. And in fact, she told me, bless her, during a show, we were walking backstage, and as we were passing in this little... she said, "Oh, darling, by the way, I am with child." And I went through the doors, and the lights came up, and I thought, mortgages, school fees. I remember nothing about the scene. Apparently it was all right, though.
Well, when success first came, how did you deal with it?
I got a bit paranoid for the first year, and then I was out in your country. I was making a movie with Liv Ullmann, and we had a day off. We were swimming in Sydney Harbour, and I was swimming around. I dived under it, held my nose, you know, and I came up, And I heard this voice saying, "Good day, Jeremy." I can't do the accent, I'm sorry about that.
It's not a bad trick.
Wait a minute, you do the accent. I'll give you the cue. I came up and I heard...
G'day, Jeremy.
That's right, that was it. That was it. And I thought, who's that? And I looked round.
You having a swim? They always ask you what you're doing when they see you doing it.
Right.
Having a swim.
And I suddenly thought, that's what it is, you see. The world becomes your village. And, I mean, you know all about that. And, in fact, I live in a village now, and village life is quite nice, except you've got to behave yourself.
You've never shied away from controversial roles, but did you really threaten to leave the country if they didn't screen Lolita?
No. It was a ridiculous thing. I don't know, those of you who probably don't read the newspapers are quite right too, but they did. One newspaper said, Iron says he'll leave the country if Lolita isn't released. And in fact, it was the end of a conversation about Crash, David Cronenberg's movie. And we were talking about Crash, 5-minute conversation with a journalist standing in a foyer of a cinema. And as I moved away from her, she said, "Oh, by the way, you've just made Lolita, haven't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "What'll you do if that's not released?" And I said, "Oh, I'll be off. I wouldn't stick around in the country like that." And that was it. And the next day, boom! It looked as if I called a press conference. Yeah. And all my friends went, "So?"
Well, this is one of the best conversations I've ever been in, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much, Jeremy Iron. It's a pleasure. To make that cup of Horlicks in your hand taste like a tequila sunrise with a slice of pineapple and a little umbrella sticking out of it, let's roll back the carpet of the years and dance until the neighbors call the police with Kid Creole and the Coconuts and Annie, I'm Not Your Daddy.
At 11:30 tonight, the South Bank Show looks at the phenomenon of body art.
I'm not your daddy.